We're smiling. Hello, it is Nancy Juetten. I am the Get Known, Get Paid mentor and the gal that teaches business owners how to book themselves on more of the right podcasts without hiring an expensive booking agency. And I am also the host of the Learn More, Earn More show right here on YouTube, where we talk about how to learn more and earn more every single week, right about this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me live today. We're streaming live from Zoom direct to YouTube. And why is that? Because today there seems to be this worldwide interruption of Facebook and Instagram and all these other platforms that people depend on. And when served with lemons, what do? We make lemonade. We find another way because that is what winners do. What is today's show about? Today's show is about mastering your virtual image. And I want to start with a story before I introduce you to our most esteemed guest. You may or may not have known that about a week or two ago, I was doing the biggest, most epic launch of my career. I had all systems go. I was delivering my heart with great smarts and heart. And just at the critical moment where I was supposed to be making a powerful invitation that was going to take every bit of courage that I had, I got a private message from some helpful person. And she said something to the flavor of, it's really too bad that your lighting isn't better. You really should do a better job at that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the biggest launch of my life, and you're thinking to tell me that right this very minute? Like, hello, timing is everything. So in the moment, I felt like I wanted to throw a dart right between the eyes of this person who tossed this lob across the bow. And I just sort of let it set aside for a while. And then when I got a little presence, I thought to myself, maybe she's right. Maybe I could do a whole lot better. And being a woman on the other side, way on the other side of 45, like I'm being kind here, like who doesn't struggle with what they look like, no matter what age they are? Could we do better? Chances are we could. So what do? I reached out to a world-class expert who knows exactly how to tweak lighting so that no matter how old you are, you can feel confident and looking your best. So today, I'm very, very pleased to introduce you to Rebecca P. Murray as my expert guest, and let me tell you a little bit about her. She is an edutainer, a presentation coach, and a multimedia producer who works with leaders who want their influence to shine on stage, in person, and on screen. She believes that you don't need to be a trained professional to have star power. You just need to learn and apply a few tips that Hollywood's been using for eons to showcase your shine. That's the name of her company, by the way. She's here today to talk about one aspect of how to master your virtual image that has got every one of us perplexed and confused, which is how to master the lighting. Lighting that helps flatter your image in your virtual frame, lighting that will ensure that you shine like a star that you are. Rebecca, where have you been hiding? And thank you for joining us today.
It is my absolute pleasure to be here and speaking on one of my favorite subjects, which is lighting. Lighting to flatter our images, make us the star of our own frames. And of course, there are a lot of other things that go along with that would take us another 90 minutes or so to get through. We're just focusing on one and a few aspects of the one of lighting today.
Well, excellent, excellent. You know, I have struggled. You know, some people, we talked about this the other day. Line extensions has gone crazy. If you go to the grocery store and you want to buy M&Ms, there are so many different kinds of M&Ms. There's peanut M&Ms, there's plain M&Ms, there's pretzel M&Ms. Like you can go down the line. There's so many different kinds of M&Ms that how does any smart person ever put something in their basket? And the same could be true of lighting and light bulbs. Why don't you talk a little bit about line extensions and light bulbs and how overwhelming it can be to the mere mortals among us who don't know what to choose to reflect as favorably as possible on our skin tone and our situation that God gave us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're all using a camera today when we're online, some sort of a camera either built into our laptop, on our phone, or maybe like I'm using a webcam that's attached to my camera. And there's only four things that cameras really care about. And those four things are light, 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 and light. So basically, it's four different ways to think about lighting. So number one, the quality of light. How harsh or soft is the light? And of course, if you're over 45, you want soft, beautiful lighting. And I'll talk about what soft and hard is in a second here. Then direction of light. If you want every skin imperfection in your face, every flaw, every wrinkle, every little bit of jowl to show, you would use light just from the side. Now we still see this where shadows on one side of the face and we have light coming across because that's what side lighting does. So that is exactly what we want to avoid when we are online, unless we're going for that look. I mean, maybe, Halloween, maybe you want that, right?
I don't know
But what
anybody
we
who
want,
wants that. Who wants
no,
that?
this nice soft light coming flat, sort of at an angle down is how I like to do it. Thinking of it as a shower, almost a shower of water, how we would have if we were taking a shower. So direction of light, quality of light, direction of light, and then color of light, super important. Cameras get very confused, especially these cheap cameras that are built in versus like the expensive standalone cameras like I have, back there that I use in my photography and videography business. So when you have a webcam, I think of it as this little pea brain inside this camera. I mean, think about how small those sensors are. And it's trying to make sense of all of these pixels, the light and dark. And so when you're feeding it different color at the same time, and we'll get into that in a second here too, it just gets confused. And what can happen is you might end up looking like a Martian or an Oompa Loompa. And I have seen both of those on Zoom where someone has a purple cast to their skin or a green cast or an orange cast. I mean, it does not flatter the person. And this is why I do what I do, because in order to connect, we have very few seconds to make that first impression. Let's learn these things, utilize them, and use them to our advantage. So we'll talk a little bit about color, and then quantity. Yes, quantity. These little tiny webcams, they feed off light. So you need to give them enough food to do their job. You've probably seen images of people where it's too much light or there's light coming across the sensor, sort of gives that ethereal look, not enough light where it's pixelated and grainy. So it's the three bears concept, really. It's not too much, not too little, just right light.
Well, amen to that. And so let me be very bold. I'm going to turn off a light. I had a light off to my left, and now I'm going to turn off the light over here.
Mm-hmm.
See how I'm dark?
And see how you have the light coming up from the bottom now from your laptop, and that would be like scary light. I call that scary light. That's horror film light. Not that you have that look going on
so much.
But if you're, those scary movies where you hold a flashlight right here and the light's just coming up, and we see that too, where the light comes up from the bottom. The last thing we want to do over 45 is accentuate what's under the chin. At least in my case, that is the truth.
Yes.
I want to have a little bit of shadow underneath my chin, really is my goal always. And for my clients, shooting down from above. So that's why I have my webcam up a little bit higher and it's angled down, just so that, this looks more pleasing to the eye.
And you do look very pleasing. So
thank you.
When it comes to equipment that we need to make available, I just want to share with all of our viewers that last Friday we had a little private session, and you took me through a couple of paces and evaluated what it is that I had in my home that could be useful for enhancing my light without having me to go on Amazon and have to spend $1 million. And so is it fair to say that you don't have to spend $1 million to upgrade your lighting? And
Yes.
that being the case, what are some of your better recommendations for, I mean, I don't know if you're in a position to recommend specific items, but I managed to function and get this all squared away with desk lamps to my left and right that are equidistant from my camera. And that was like a
Yes.
revelation. For anyone who's lousy with spatial relationships, it was so cool that you said, oh, you have a white light to the right of your camera and you have a yellow light to the left of your camera. Are they equidistant from the camera? And I said, no, they are not. The one on the left is over here and the one on the right is over here. And you said, make them equidistant. It will make a huge difference. And what do you know? It does.
Yes. And that light bulb that was yellow, we talked about that, going to Home Depot and finding one that was a white color. And that's really the golden rule in terms of color of light, to make sure that all of the light falling on you, the subject, the star of your frame, is the same color. And what you'll find when you go to Home Depot and take a look at all of the light bulbs, it really is, I mean, we don't usually think about things like this. I think about things like this because when I go looking for a light bulb, I'm usually looking for a certain color of light, which is on here in light bulbs, it's called Kelvin. And light color is Kelvin. It's a specific number. So you're looking for either a very, very high number, which is daylight balance. So if you're next to a window and you're using some of that light and you want to have a little side light that's bouncing on you to use as fill, like I have here, then you want to match it to the window, which is that higher number, 5,600 to 6,100 usually. If you're using all yellowish lights, like for example, Nancy, if you said, no, I really like I don't have an extra, I don't have a daylight bulb and I need to get going now, but I do have an extra yellow bulb, let's change this one out. And so that you have two yellow lights on you, that's fine too. As long as you're not confusing the camera by having two different colors of light on yourself, that's the goal. All the light falling on you, either in that lower range of 3,200, which is the yellow golden color light bulbs that you'll see around your house, or the daylight balance bulbs, which are anywhere from 5,600 Kelvin to 6,600 Kelvin. Now that you know this, when you go looking for light bulbs, you'll pick up a box and you'll go, oh, that's what Rebecca was talking about right there. However, so here's the thing. Once you know this and you have the light on you dialed in, it's all the same color. You can have other light colors in the background as part of your design. Like you see people that have these little like rock lamps, or I don't know what they're called, like salt lamps or something like that. Maybe it's orange. That's fine off in the background, as long as it's not falling on you and creating a color cast on you, a problem for your camera.
I see.
So, yeah.
Now, some people wear glasses and they worry about how to manage the reflection of light in their glasses. Do you have any particular recommendations on that score?
Yeah. And I'll just give you an example. So here's a pair of glasses that are not treated lenses. So there's a couple of things. So here's the difference. Here's the difference.
I'm seeing a reflection.
Yes. Yes. So when the pandemic first started, you know, how many of us thought about these kinds of things? Like if our having anti-reflective lenses in our glasses, and then it was hard, you know, the optometrists were closed, so we couldn't get in for months and months. And so as soon as I could, that was one of the first things that I did. I invested in a pair of glasses that are non-reflective. In fact, I wore them out. These glasses, they were not these ones. These are my second pair. I had to actually use tape on the other ones for a while because they broke right here, right during a presentation. Actually, it was a Master Your Virtual Image presentation, and they went boink right off my face. But here's one thing that I've done, because there's no such thing as 100% anti-reflective lenses, at least not that I'm aware. Now, these are anti-reflective. They have, at least compared to these, right? They're anti-reflective. And that's good enough for me. They cannot be 100%. They were expensive. They were $300 lenses, just for the lenses, and that included prescriptions. But check this out. If I have a window right in front of me, but I have a sheer drape across it. So light can still come in, but it's diffused. And that's what I mean by diffused light. Like, I don't want any hard light on me. It's going to be too much for my skin. My whole face will start reflecting, become a reflective surface and reflect back to the camera. And that's never a good look. Like something like this, right? That's a bad look.
Right.
So too much light. But I'm going to open this curtain a little bit, and you're going to see a reflection now in my glasses. You see, it's from the window. It's from the window here. So that's another way to mitigate some of the reflections, is to put like some diffusion paper like this that you can buy at a photo store, or a sheer curtain in front of your window. So it actually is reflecting, but there are images out there. There's trees, there's grass, and those are the things that get reflected in my glasses. When you have a homogeneous surface that's reflecting, then it really doesn't look like there's much of anything there. You can still see my eyes.
Right.
So this is a little film trick that we use. Like if we are doing a film in around cars, like for a car dealership, for example, cars are reflective surfaces. They're going to be, they become basically like a mirror of everything around them. So we bring in these big white sheets. So light can, that's the reflection that goes on the car. It's this homogeneous color. So the reflection basically goes away.
So we can go to a Bed Bath and Beyond and pick up a simple sheer for very little money, and that can solve that problem.
That can solve that problem.
There are many people that are being advised to use ring lights, which are circular lights, which also provide a problem for people who wear glasses.
That's right.
Do you have any comments about that?
That's a really hard one to, like, I do not use a ring light for that reason. My light in front of me is high up. So it's not, the ring light's basically, you want your camera in the middle, right? So it's right in front of your face, right into your glasses. If you have a light like this, I basically have a 3-point light system here, plus some extra fill from the window that I just discussed. But as soon as the sun goes down, that goes away. And I use that sheer curtain as a bounce. So basically I have a light that shines on the curtain, and now that the light from the curtain bounces and is like that shower of light on me, that beautiful, soft, big light source. I also have a light right above me. It's not facing me, and it's coming down. So it's too far up to be a reflective problem. And then this one on the side is facing away from me, bouncing off a piece of white paper that's on the wall, bouncing back on me. So that's part of the reason I don't have reflective issues, is I'm using the lights higher and as on soft sources coming back on me. So there's nothing hard. You know, when we talk about hard and soft light, that ring light is going to create a harder light, and it's right in your face. So it's going to, I don't think there are any glasses in the world that it wouldn't be an issue with.
Right. And that's not even an age specific thing. It's just
no.
That whether if you wear glasses, it's something to be considered. Now,
that's right.
The lighting is an important piece, but and it's something that you notice, what you notice matters. And so we've all had Zoom fatigue for the last 18 months or so, going from one meeting to the next meeting. And sometimes I will sit in a Zoom meeting and I will scan the whole room, and I will make my own judgments about what I notice about how other people are showing up. I don't know that I'm the only one that does that. Maybe shame on me. I shouldn't be worried about that. But I think how you do anything is how you do everything. And if I can see your dirty dishes in the background and your cat's crawling across your screen and your dog is barking and these kinds of things, it looks a little too casual for the kind of image I want to portray. Are there any thoughts you have around that sort of thing when it comes to standing out and shining on when we are in community on Zoom?
Yeah, well, there's a number of things, and we've talked a lot about light today, which pertains to image. And exactly what you said, once you know some of these things, then you can make the decision for yourself, and also to get feedback from others, because we're so used to seeing our own environment, our brain starts tuning things out. But if we can be open to feedback, like the story that you told at the very beginning today, if we can be open for feedback, some things will occur to us that really never would have come to us any other way but through another person. And so we just have to ask. And one of the things that I think is probably, now, if we're an attendee in a meeting, then, and not speaking at all, then yes, our visual frame, how we show up on our frame, is all people have to go on to judge us. And because we are judging machines, that is what we do. That's what we all do this. We all do this. And so you say, okay, how does this person show up? And would I feel comfortable doing business with that person? I mean, if you're in a business environment, that's the question you're going to ask, right? And if somebody isn't showing up well, especially after now, a year and a half or more on Zoom, then you have to wonder. You do. I do. I do. Like, there's help out here. There's help. I'm here. There are many of us. There's so many resources. But the biggest thing, if you are speaking, the biggest thing of all that will disconnect you faster than anything else, even faster than your image, is how you sound. It's how you sound. It's your voice. And you think also of people who cannot see or who have a visual impairment. That's all they have to go on, is your voice. So I am a huge advocate. Before I join any meeting, I keep my camera off in Zoom, keep my camera off. I keep my audio off. I test my camera in that little testing panel to see, because sometimes my camera, even though it's connected, it disconnects for some reason. I have to reconnect it. When I show up, it is showtime for me. That's how I think of it. I show up, here I am, I'm ready to go. I don't want to be showing up and fumbling around, talking to myself, fixing the light, fixing my hair, fixing my whatever. You come ready to shine. And then same for your audio. In Zoom, there is an audio testing. I used it today because I'm using my very special audio gear. If you haven't noticed there, Nancy, special for you, because today is a special day, being on your show and all. And so this is what I use for my professional in my studio usually, but I thought I would bring it down and show it off today. And it's really wonderful because I can walk around, I can move around, and because the microphone's right here, you hear no variation in my voice, do you?
So I'm really, I think it's very chic and stylish and so much more preferred compared to these headsets that some people would have us wear, which I want to say something about that.
Yes.
I guide people to book themselves on more of the right podcasts so that they can enhance their visibility, their lead flow, their client conversations, and their cash by showing up in long form conversations. And what often happens with podcast hosts is they will say, based on your Media One sheet and your pitch, I'd like to have you on the show. But before I book you, please make sure that you have your audio and your microphone and your backdrop squared away, because, oh, surprise, surprise, not only is this an audio experience, but this will be a video experience too. Right. And it so often happens that people will say, oh, shoot, I was ready for audio, but I wasn't ready for video. And then they can't book it because they don't have the materials in place to show up like a star. So you're advocating, if you really want to shine, have all that squared away before you even make an approach.
Well, and yes, and that is the one thing about audio too, is that unlike lighting, where you can usually find some lights around your house and we can manage, point this one way, put a piece of white paper over there, bounce that light off of here. Great. That looks good. Getting rid of the shadows, blah, blah, blah. you don't necessarily have to spend any money on lighting, but when it comes to audio, you absolutely need to, if you want to be the preferred podcast guest. Your voice, you can tell that digital icky sound or the echoey sound. If I had I don't have a podcast, but if I did, I do manage a client's podcast, and we we do not have guests on the podcast who do not sound good, because I don't want to have to spend hours and hours fixing things, fixing it for the human ear. If it's a podcast, that means it needs to sound good. So yes, invest in professional audio gear. Now, the range that you can invest in is from, $130 to $2,000, right? So what do you do depending on your budget, depending on your intention for other production needs of your own? Are you a person that likes to walk around? Will you be sitting at a desk? Do you mind having your microphone in the shot, in the frame? That bothers some people. Some people don't like things in their ears. There's all sorts of preferences. So depending on those, this is one of the ways that I help clients decide, based on budget, based on preferences, based on production goals, what's going to be the best investment, because it is an investment. It's an investment in you and your audience and your host. That's what it is. So if I'm just in a meeting, I'll just wear these little onesies. You see me wear these all the time. Mm-hmm. Here's your headphones, and here's your microphone. This is better than nothing, but it doesn't, it's not super high quality. It's fine. And it doesn't necessarily have that professional look to it either.
Right. Now, hopefully by now, just by listening to this first few minutes of this conversation, all of our viewers who are over 45 are starting to breathe a huge sigh of relief, because with a light above us washing down on us, and the right color light consistent on either side of us, and the right anti-reflective glasses, if that's the case, we can show up and shine and feel really great about how we look and never apologize. You've worked with a lot of people, because I know you have a photography business too, and you've taken beautiful headshots of people who are not 22 anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, what is it that people say that prevents them from showing up? Do you hear people say, if I just had a better hair day, I would be all over this like a cheap suit? Or if I was just 10 years younger, I would be much more inclined to do whatever it is. Do you hear people go into that negative self-talk when they are just a little bit older? Do you ever hear people talking about that?
Well, if it's video, I hear the negative self-talk from people of all ages. Last week, I recorded three women, all in their, I'm going to say 30s, late 20s to maybe early 40s. And all of them were insecure. You are insecure when you're in front of a video camera and you have to talk. Everyone is. And so basically it's talking people down from the ledge, helping them breathe, making sure they have water, building their confidence. That was fantastic. Let's do it again. You don't have to be perfect. So everybody's worried about how they look, how they sound, regardless of age. When it comes to photos, however, many people still, like, oh, I hate having my picture taken. I never take a good picture, that sort of thing. And when I hear that, which I often do, again, regardless of age, and more so if somebody's over 45, oh, I hate having my picture taken. I never take a good picture. I said, well, you know what? You're not going to be able to say that after today.
I love that. That's so good. Because
they can't, because we will always get a great picture, and they'll be able to look at themselves and go, wow. I say, go ahead and say it. I'm beautiful. Go ahead and say it. I'm beautiful.
That kind of reminds me of a story. Years ago, I did some work for a public relations agency, and we were redoing a brochure for this group of attorneys that had been together since they graduated from law school. And of course, they graduated from law school maybe 20 years before. So time had marched on, and they didn't quite look the same as they did when they got their law degrees. And we were doing this beautiful brochure telling the story about their qualifications and their expertise. And we had to talk to them about having photos taken. And they were all saying, well, we really like the photo that was taken 20 years ago. Can't we use that one? And talk about diplomacy. You have to say, yes, this is a beautiful photo, and it's been 20 years. And if we look in the mirror today and we compare the way we look today to the way we looked 20 years ago, chances are some change has occurred. So we don't want to fib about what we look like, because if we're going to fib about what we look like, what else might we not tell the truth about? And that's kind of an issue if you're an attorney, right? But it was challenging, arranging the photo shoot and getting this crew together and saying, now let's all smile with confidence and conviction and feel good about who we are. But we're not 22 anymore.
Yes.
And let's own whatever it is for wherever we are in our life, because I really believe that our finest hour is straight ahead. I think, 45 is the new 65, right? Look at Jane Fonda. She's 80 and she's rocking it. So whatever we've got, we should rock whatever we've got.
Yes.
Now, I want to shift
what you got
for a second, because speaking of rocking whatever we've got, showing up on video requires courage. Showing up and asking for podcast bookings requires courage. But there's something else that requires courage that's really important in your life and in all of our lives. Is what if there's a mission that we're fighting for that we're just now stepping into? And I just would like to call out that you have had a dream to be a one-woman show. And not long ago, you actually produced this one-woman show to a full house of appreciative audience members. And it was incredibly exciting and successful. And I just want to know if you would like to talk a little bit about that, because I think that it would be inspiring for people to realize that not only do we get our lighting right and our sound right at 45 or better, sometimes we find our lane and we can't wait to go downtown really quickly to celebrate that mission that we're on. So would you tell us a little bit about this confidence equation one-woman show that you have, and whatever you'd like to share about it?
I would love to. Well, it started off as a leadership training a year and a half before, and when I got done with this, this thing that became the confidence equation started to evolve. And as it started to evolve, and this is all during COVID, then I would, add a character. I'm always experimenting with things, like what would be the most courageously fun thing for me to shake this up. And so, I'm a very character-driven actress as well. And I love making people laugh. It's like my favorite thing of all is to entertain and make people laugh. And so over this year or so, I developed a keynote and then a workshop, all called the confidence equation, which includes several different characters that are sort of like metaphors for the things that are challenging to us in our lives. It's the saboteurs that come in between our dreams and our goals, and that short circuit our success and our achieving our dreams. And so Nancy and I have known each other for 10 years, but really basically reacquainted when she moved up to Bellingham and decided to get together. And I think this was like the first time we got our dogs together for a walk. And right after that, you had written this article and suggested that I read it. And she referenced this movie called La La Land, and where this woman has this one-woman show, which is basically what I had created. And then she did it in front of a live audience. Hardly anybody showed up. And I thought, you know what, though, that's better to do it and have only a few people show up and just to know that you did it. That's how I felt. And of course, she ends up becoming a big star. So I watched this movie on a Saturday night, May 17th. I wake up May 18th, and I have my whole show on stage in my head. Like I'm laying in bed watching my confidence equation, all of my characters, trying to figure out how I would do all these costume changes in real life. Because it's one thing when I'm up in my studio and I can go off stage and come back, but it's another when you're physically in a theater with people. But I saw it happen. I first thing I did after getting a cup of coffee is I sent an email to a friend of mine who owns the Concrete Theater, and I said, I have a crazy idea. I need to talk to you. And so what ended up happening was September 18th, we put on the show. And but what we hadn't predicted the Delta, things were starting to open up. It looked like things were starting to open up in May and June, right? We were all getting ready to get rid of our masks and start getting back into the world as normal. And then the Delta variant came. And so up until about 10 days before the show, we only had sold 6 tickets. And I said, you know what? This is going to be just like La La Land, because I think she had 10 people in her audience, but it didn't stop me. I thought, you know what? I have this dream. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it for me, really. I'm not doing it. Yeah, if the audience wants to come, that's great. They'll enjoy themselves. But really, I'm doing this for me because this is my dream. And for my dream to come true, I just need to do it. And that's what I kept saying to people who said, maybe you should cancel, maybe you should reschedule. And I said, nope, I need to do it. So we did it, and it was wonderful.
And it was wonderful. And so can you just break down what the confidence equation is? It's what is it? It's
yes,
this plus
it
that
is.
equals.
Well, it starts with here's the confidence equation. I have this little card that I hand out. So it is C equals K plus E, which is greater than or equal to MC squared. And it's sort of a silly thing, but the premise is that courage, which is something that we have control over, it's a decision that we make, it's an action that we take, one step of courage toward our dream, just one, leads to an opportunity for experience and knowledge, which we will get each and every time we take a step of courage. And that leads us to the confidence zone, which is the MC squared. Confidence in me, it's based on that song that Maria sings in The Sound of Music. And that then we go back to the beginning. Doubt, instead of being an enemy, becomes our friend, because whenever we have a dream, we will have doubt. I don't know anybody who's ever had a big dream who hasn't had a doubt. So we look at doubt then as our dear friend, because it can provide the fuel and the impetus to remind us that all it takes is that one step of courage and then to keep moving in that direction.
Well, I love that. And I was fortunate to have my front row seat for your show. And it was truly a tour de force moment for you. You were so on fire. The audience was so inspired. People were reaching for their Kleenex. It was so powerful. And I wanted you to talk about it because I believe that stepping up on stage, virtual or otherwise, does require courage, but that we all have knowledge and insight to share. And if we could just overcome our doubt and believe in ourselves, we can accomplish magnificent things. And when the confidence equation show that you lead gets invited to be shared at nonprofit organizations and corporations and masterminds and every other kind of venue where people are struggling with these kinds of elements, I truly believe that you could be mastering the virtual stage, delivering that transformational show across the miles around the globe, and it could really be your finest moment on the planet. And I just want people to have knowledge that this is something that you do, that you can't wait to do more of. And don't you have a goal, like how many paid gigs between now and the end of 2021 would you like to invite to deliver this particular show? Because I'm saying confidence equation I mean, we've been talking about lighting and we've been talking about sound and we've been talking about the practical nitty gritty, which everybody needs to master regardless of their age. But why do we need to master that? It's because we all have a message that we're trying to
Yes.
share with more of the right people who can be
Yes.
inspired and called into action to achieve whatever's best and next for them. And I truly believe that the confidence equation show that you have created can be a catalyst that will allow people to overcome Zoom fatigue and get people engaged in a conversation that can be truly transformational for every single person who participates.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I do too. The comments and feedback that I get afterward from people saying, I've had this dream and now I'm inspired to take this step of courage, and thank you so much. It was that little push that I needed. Something inside my head broke free, whatever that was. And here's the thing about this is not, when we talk about confidence and courage, of course, none of this is original, right? These concepts have been around for forever, for as long as they've been people. And what held me back for a long time was, I want to talk about these things, but it's not original. So I came up with an original vessel, which is basically me in my most original form, because I do, I do like thinking out of the box, acting out of the box, surprising people, that sort of thing. And once I really embraced that, like, okay, some people are going to think this is kooky and weird. Some people may not think it's as funny as I do or others. That's okay. It's totally fine, because I'm just bringing it anyway. I'm bringing it and putting it out there the way I was meant to. And once I got to that point, and really it was during COVID and turning 60 in February, like coming up to 60, like the year of 59, the year of 59, where you're like, oh no, only 34 more days and I'm not going to be 59 anymore. I mean, that's like a scary thought, to turn 60, right? And I thought, well, I need to get beyond this. What's the great thing about turning 60 is that it's something does break free, really, truly. You're in the third, hopefully, the third act of your life. And if there's no time like now to get rid of all your inner roadblocks and do whatever the heck it is that you have dreamed for yourself, what you're called to do, what you're born to do, and do it.
Amen. And, I've heard it said, let your freak flag fly.
Yes.
When you get to be a certain age, it is what it is. So you might as well be it in living color in its full expression, because anything less than that is simply not good enough. So
yes.
Couple of practical things. You have created a 6-point master your virtual image checklist that is really, really helpful for the practical, tactical people that are watching, that want to make sure that they are paying attention to their lighting and their frame and their camera quality and their audio.
Yes, and I bumped it up to 7 because 7 is the getting there early and testing.
Oh, very good. And so in the show notes, I'm going to give people, if with your permission to share that with everyone, because this is going to be the thing where, okay, now that you know the importance of lighting, I don't want you to be the person that's in the middle of extending your very powerful, life-changing offer and to receive an email or a Facebook message in the wrong possible moment saying, you really got to get your lighting squared away. Like, if you have feedback to give to people, give it to them when the timing is right, and they will receive it a whole lot better than when you give it at a time when they want to throw a dart at you. That's one.
Right.
Number 2, be sure to download these 7 ways to master your virtual image. And then the third thing is, you may want some professional support mastering your virtual image. And the beautiful thing about the way Rebecca works is she works with you virtually. So you can be in Tanzania or Serbia or somewhere on the map that we've never stepped foot. But as long as you have a decent Zoom connection, Rebecca can guide you through your goals to understand what you're trying to accomplish and make quality recommendations where during the session, you could actually transform from this Like you could go from this to this to this in the span of an hour and think that it was the very best time and money that you could have ever spent. And so would you like to elaborate further on what that service is all about? Or
Yes, yes. And
Mhm.
I've been doing these, basically they're virtual studio consultations now ever since COVID happened. I have clients all over the globe thanks to COVID. So the first session is for us, and it usually is about an hour for me to really understand your professional and production goals. Also, to get a sense for your environment of where you're going to be either creating videos or having your meetings, webinars, podcasts, whatever those are, what your budget is, what your preferences are, all of those things. So I ask lots and lots and lots of questions. Secondly, I go away, I make a list, I send you links, things that I think would meet your goals. And then thirdly, once you get these things, if you do need to buy anything, some people don't, then we come back again and we dial everything in so that you are 100% comfortable. And then after that, you're going to produce a podcast, a video, whatever it is that your goal is. You're going to send it to me. I'm going to evaluate it and give you some further feedback. And possibly there might be a few other things that we tweak.
Well, and I want to say that having the privilege of having you give me that feedback, when you're asking for feedback at the right possible time and you're willing to take action on the feedback, it is a great blessing to all. And I think it was an incredible value that I received. And that's why I wanted everyone who's watching to know, who are they going to call to get help with this? It's not Ghostbusters, it's Rebecca P. Murray. And so I'm going to put in the show notes how you can reach Rebecca P. Murray. And I want you to run and not walk. And if you find her because Nancy J referred you, just be sure to put Nancy J in the subject line, because then she'll know to take extra special good care of you, because that's just the kind of gal she is. And the other thing I want everyone to know is that if you lead a mastermind, if you have to shake up your Zoom room, if you have people that are struggling with their confidence and bringing their knowledge and their great gift forward in a winning way that could change lives and change the world, bring the confidence equation one woman show to your organization and let Rebecca's multiple characters bring home the message in only the way that Sister Sue, what are this? There's doubt, there's shame, there's
Mrs. Kia, Mrs. Know-It-All, there's Brenda Sue, and shame, and me. So there's 4 of us.
It's a tour de force presentation that everyone in your organization will be talking about. More importantly, they're going to transform from the inside out because they got the message that they can take an ounce of courage and create a bold leap forward to make their dreams come true. And if ever there was a time for that, it's now. So Rebecca P. Murray, is there an email? Yes, it's Rebecca at showcaseyourshine.com. Mm-hmm. Rebecca at showcaseyourshine.com is where you would reach out to Rebecca to inquire about the one woman show or the virtual consultation. And anything else you want to add before we wrap this thing up?
Yes, and I will say, I just wanted to make one comment about the show that yes, you may be reaching for Kleenex at one point or another, but mostly you will be laughing, right, Nancy? Mostly there's tons and tons of humor infused, and because that is, I feel, my biggest gift is to make people laugh.
Well, I think that I felt a full range of emotion. And I think because I'm just being very transparent here, when people have the courage to say that they have a dream that they want to accomplish, and I have the privilege of seeing them step into it and live it out, I can not stop myself from feeling deeply moved, because how many people go through life stopping short of taking that risk and making that happen. And it was just very moving for me to see you step into, and because I saw La La Land and I it was in one of my favorite movies, but there were just a few people in the audience, and she was crestfallen because she had dreamt in her mind that there would be standing room only and a standing ovation and la, 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 la. Like the or something better outcomes that happened for people who step into their big dreams are so hard to measure, but so incredibly valuable to hold in your heart and your head and your gut, that I was just very profoundly moved that I got to be there in the room to see it. And I would like people to have that same experience, because there were other women there that there were actually 3 women that were sharing their stories at that show, and they were all remarkable, amazing women. And I guess I bring this back to, if you are a woman or a man over 45, maybe you're 55, maybe you're heading to 60, maybe you're on the other side of 60. Sometimes you think that we're done.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Right.
You're not. The best is yet to come. Your next chapter can be your finest hour. You get to make that decision. And that's why show up, showcase your shine, make sure you've got lighting, make sure you've got decent audio, make sure what people see behind you is a favorable reflection of your brand. Show up wearing clothes that you feel good in. Get your nails done. Have a facial. Do whatever it takes.
Yes.
But you not showing up and showcasing your shine is not of service to the people on the planet that you are here to serve and support and champion and advocate for, so your own legacy can be alive today. So I have incredible admiration for you. I'm so glad we know each other, and I'm so glad that we got to get back in acquaintance with each other after it's such a gift. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
So can I just say thank you so much for being a guest. I'm coming back to the way we started today. Facebook is off today. Instagram is off today. WhatsApp is off today. Like, what does a winner do when technology fails? You go to another platform, you stream live, you make it happen, because if it's important enough to make good on your commitments, you will find a way. And we found a way. And I think it was very inspiring. And so thank you for helping me to improve my own lighting setup. I feel like I've turned back the clock 10 years.
You look fantastic. You really look fantastic. Yes.
And I guess the other thing I've heard this said, there's someone wrote a book about this. The setback is the setup for the comeback.
Yeah, I like it.
Setup for the comeback. So if someone throws a dart and says, you look like hell, feels pretty lousy in the moment. And if you get a few little presents, you go, there's probably someone out there that can help me with that. What do you know? There you are. And here we are, coming back better than ever, raring to go, with more than a few ounces of courage and plenty of moxie. And I hope that the confidence equation gets booked on multiple virtual stages as soon as possible. I hope people will call you, Rebecca at showcaseyourshine.com, and say, tell me about the confidence equation show. I can't wait to book it for my audience. And of course, I'll share all your yummy, delicious tips in the show notes below. So any parting thoughts before we close this up?
Well, no, thank you so much. And it's wonderful watching you shine today, Nancy.
Thank you. It takes a village. So glad you're in mine. And thank you for watching. If you enjoy these videos that happen just about every Monday at 1 o'clock, hit that red subscribe button and say, yeah, I want to get alerted every time there's a YouTube video to enjoy. And if you are not yet a member of the Raise Your Voice, Make Your Impact Facebook group, join 2,558 speakers, experts, podcast guests who are serious about speaking up, showing up, shining, and delivering transformation every day. We would love to have you among us. You can go to getknowngetpaid.com/group to dip your toe in with both feet. And anything less is simply not good enough. All right. So with that, we'll see you here next week, and can't wait to see what you all do to showcase your shine with Rebecca P. Murray as your able guide and mentor. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.